Gene Deal is back, talking heavy once again. And this time, he says he's got receipts that somehow never made it into 50 Cent's Netflix documentary. The headlines alone are wild. $1 million check, talk of advance awareness around Tupac, and a Biggie timeline that challenges what most people think they know. And that's the side you're hearing right now. You clicked because word is Gene Deal is dropping bombs that 50 didn't want the public to see. So let's cut through the noise. 50 Cent sold his Diddy documentary to Netflix for millions, and the internet expected one name to be front and center: Gene Deal. Why? Because he was Diddy's bodyguard during the peak Bad Boy years, and for years he's been one of the loudest voices telling stories from that era. In that lane, he wasn't just around, he was close to the moments people still argue about today. Yet when the series dropped, he wasn't there. No interview, no clip, not even a mention, nothing.
New Netflix docuseries about Sean Diddy Combs is making headlines for its never-before-seen footage of the music mogul in the days before his arrest. Now, Combs is threatening legal action against the streamer for airing the unauthorized footage. Behind the series is Combs' longtime rap rival 50 Cent and director Alexandria Stapleton, who sat down with NBC News' Chloe Malas ahead of tonight's release.
Now the word floating around is simple. The footage didn't make the cut. Conversations, tapes, details, the kind of material that either gets you paid or gets you erased. So today, we're breaking down why that relationship purportedly fell apart and what people believe got left on the editing room floor. Here's where this is headed: a day where there was awareness that Tupac was about to get hit and nobody stepped in. A $1 million check story described as something seen up close, with the belief that it ties back to Tupac's death, and a Biggie sequence built around warnings, ignored signals, and choices that, depending on how you read it, helped set the stage for danger. Let's get into it. Quick context first. The rollout was sold as a deep exposé, never-before-seen footage, behind-the-scenes moments, in a series timed around major legal headlines. Online chatter said it was supposed to be longer, but what actually hit Netflix was a 4-part drop. The marketing was loud, expose everything: crimes, cover-ups, the whole storm. At least that's how it was pitched. But the loudest complaint online? The most important pieces never made it in. So who is Gene Deal in all of this? Former bad boy bodyguard during the era everyone still debates, right near the East Coast versus West Coast timeline, close to Vegas when Tupac was shot, close to LA when Biggie was killed. Whether you believe it or not, that's the positioning. Someone tied to the moment, now speaking publicly. So the question doesn't change. Why isn't he in the documentary?
I'm gonna put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about, you got footage, you got clothing, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received, and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I was like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, yeah, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and goes out of this document.
The simplest answer getting repeated is money and control. Early on, the team wanted footage and stories. Then, a conversation with director Alex Stapleton reportedly shifted the vibe. The takeaway afterward was that 50 didn't control the payments or the content. Decisions were coming from elsewhere, and the number on the table felt disrespectful. That's where the friction starts. Unique footage, first-hand stories, major historical moments, and the offer allegedly felt like pocket change compared to what the project was worth. So the move was to walk away and refuse to participate. But money isn't the only reason people keep pointing to. Another big factor is what didn't get included, details that would have made the documentary messier, riskier, and harder to defend. Take the East Coast versus West Coast war. The documentary covers it, but the pushback is that it skips what's being presented online as the real story behind bodyguard Jake Wolf Robles' death.
Wolf was not the gunman who killed Jake, and Mark Curry knows that to be true. You understand? And East Coast War was more like Helena of Troy. When Puff got mad at Suge for being out there and allowing Misa to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family, he vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never fucking with her again, and I ain't never fucking with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing a Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother, but had he killed my man or some shit like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, Suge made Puff feel like I'm gonna get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason he was mad at Puff, and Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge. It was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast to dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I gotta get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big B. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the shit between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself, and got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them, and Zip hung up the phone on behind that.
But what you mean by Mark Curry? He know who killed Big J?
It was some Jamaican dude from the Bronx. He's dead now. The police ended up killing him at Magic City. I don't know his name, but Mark Curry know that it wasn't Wolf.
But when I was looking at the documentary, Kirk Burroughs, he did confirm that Big, he didn't want to go to LA, and they was actually getting warnings not to go to LA. But Diddy, he wanted to go, man.
My man, yeah, we must have had warnings, man. I didn't know. I knew that we shouldn't be out there in the first.
One name that comes up here is Mark Curry, with the claim that he knows exactly who did it. This narrative rejects the government conspiracy angle and leans into a street explanation instead, a man described as a Jamaican guy from the Bronx. The story continues that police later killed him at a club called Magic City. Then it goes further. The East versus West label gets called misleading. In this version, the real tension wasn't the coasts, it was Bad Boy Records versus Death Row Records. Artists still moved between cities and showed love, but the real engine behind the smoke was Bad Boy and Death Row, Diddy versus Suge Knight. Another piece people say is missing? A peace attempt. The talk is that Death Row tried to set up a meeting to squash the Tupac-Biggie situation, and Bad Boy didn't show. No representative, no appearance, no effort to cool things down. The point being pushed isn't that this proves a crime, it's the moral weight. If peace was on the table and it was ignored, that choice still matters, even if it's not the same as pulling a trigger. Now we hit the part everyone calls explosive. To be clear, what follows is a retelling of accusations and public narratives, not confirmed facts. The story floating around is that there was advance awareness around Quad Studios, and someone close to the center was positioned to watch it unfold. The documentary mentions the 1994 Quad Studio shooting where Tupac was shot 5 times. What critics say got stripped out is this detail. Diddy, Andre Harrell, and Jimmy Henchman together in Jimmy Henchman's office that same day. The scene gets painted like this. Biggie and his crew supposedly didn't even know Diddy was there. Diddy was expected to go upstairs to Biggie's session. junior mafia business, but instead stayed behind to keep tabs on what was happening.
The whole incident of the Quad Studio shit. Like in the documentary, they was talking about that, right? You know what I'm saying? They talked about the Quad Studio shit, but they didn't mention the fact, and they left it out, that Big and C's did not know that Puff and Andre Harrell was in Jimmy Henchman's office the day Pac got killed. I mean, the day Pac got shot at Quad Studio. Let me repeat that again so it don't get mixed up in the whole thing. They did not mention that Andre Harrell and Puff Daddy and Jimmy Henchman were all in the office together. Puff was on the office because he was trying to spy on Big them, because Big was writing the Junior Mafia stuff and Puff had his publishing. I told this to a couple of people before. I said it before, and you got people that's running with it like they knew the story in the whole 9 yards. You understand? They'll lie and you ask them, how do you know that? Who told you? They couldn't even tell you that. They'll tell you some lie, they did some kind of investigation, but it didn't happen like that. You understand? Puff was there to spy on Big because he had owned Big Publishing, and Big had turned around, and the same people who helped Puff get Big Publishing told Big to turn and put Tatiana or put somebody else's name on his publishing, or give it to Lil C's or whoever, this, that, and the third that he wrote for, so he can get the money from it. So that's how that went down. So they was there to spy on Big. In the interim of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told him that they finna teach Pac a lesson, because Pac had owed him some money. So that's why he was up in the studio and was coming to the studio. Pac owed him some money. He was gonna work it off and get some money from doing a song with Lil Sean. And that's what that was about. But Pac was talking greasy to Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman wasn't the type of dude that you talk greasy to, alleged, unless you 50 Cent.
So Diddy knew what was going to happen to Pac.
He knew Pac was about to deal well. Yeah, he was there to see it. He wasn't only there to see Big them when Jimmy Henchman told him that. He was there to see what's going to happen to Pac. He was there for that, because had he not been there for that, he would have went up there in the office. He would have went to the studio or the studio session with Big them. He would have went to that studio session with Big them. He knew what room Big them was in. He didn't do that. He was there to see what was going to happen to Pac after Jimmy told him, and that's factual.
Why keep tabs on your own artist? The explanation people repeat is money and leverage. The claim is that Biggie's publishing was controlled, and Biggie was trying to maneuver out. The advice described in this retelling: put the publishing under someone else's name, maybe a wife, maybe Lil Cease, so the money flows differently and control shifts. So the picture becomes Diddy sitting in that office, tracking Biggie's moves. And while that's happening, a plan allegedly gets spoken out loud in the room. A teach Pac a lesson line tied to a debt. A studio appearance framed as part of settling that debt. A song with Lil Sean. Then the tone changes. Disrespect enters the mix. And situations like that don't end quietly. The hard claim being pushed is that awareness existed because the plan was openly discussed in that room. Then comes the logic people keep circling back to. If nothing was known, why not go upstairs to Biggie's session? The location was supposedly known, yet in this version, Diddy stays put and waits.
Be idolized a motherfucker, he idolized Tupac, because you gotta realize when a woman looked at Tupac, they probably wanted him. Puff wasn't getting that type of fever from girls. You understand what I'm saying? Puff had to use his money. Puff had to use his position in order to get women. Now, I seen him with some bad joints, and I used to look at them like this, like, not on no hating shit, but like, you wouldn't be here if he wasn't puffed.
Straight facts is how this story gets marketed. But the key thing to remember is this: these are accusations, not independently verified proof inside this video. Still, the accusation is brutal. Knowing something was coming, offering no warning, making no attempt to stop it. And the belief is that the documentary avoided this entirely. Then the focus shifts to motive and personality, and this part gets personal. The tension gets tied not to rap or fame, but to women. Tupac is described as naturally magnetic. He walks into a room and the energy changes. Meanwhile, Diddy is portrayed as needing money and status to get the same reaction. One quote that keeps circulating in this story is, "I don't know how to talk to women. I don't know how to talk to girls." The takeaway being pushed from that angle? jealousy. Deep, personal jealousy feeding long-term tension. And then there's the money story, not framed like internet gossip, but as something that was witnessed up close.
And my man Boom Dang, aka my man Slick, a check for $1 million. We don't know, and everybody trying to say, lying, talking about half of it got paid, 500. I don't know. I know when I asked him about, we asked him, do we ask? No, we didn't ask him. I know when he showed us the check and he walked away after he showed us the check for the $1 million, you understand? I asked Boom, I said, yo, Boom, when did he get a record label? He said, you know how Zip is. I said, when did he get a Zip record label? Zip had a check for $1 million. He said he got it from Barry Hankerson and Jimmy Henchman for his record label, Black Ground Records. So now, if that's true, we know Jimmy Henchman and Puff was cool. You should be able to trace $1 million if that's the truth. If that's the truth, you should be able.
The scene, 112th Street, sitting on a stoop with another guy. Eric Zip Von Zip rolls up, showing off a new whip, proud, like he's got something to prove. Then out comes a check. Not just any check, a $1 million check, flashed like a trophy. The story? It allegedly came from Barry Hankerson and Jimmy Henchman, tied to Black Ground Records. Timing's everything, right after Tupac's death. Then comes the money trail angle. Not some cash deal in a dark alley. This is paper, bank verified, with deposits, endorsements, and records. Trace it, and the narrative says it could lead somewhere. Enter Kirk Burroughs, former president of Bad Boy Records, described as a guy who kept meticulous notes and files. Allegedly, he mentioned paying people to drive out to Vegas around the time Tupac was killed. Sure, not every detail is confirmed from memory, even the retelling admits that. But the big idea? Paperwork talks. If records show who got paid for what, it could crack things wide open. The hanging question, will anyone follow the trail, or will it stay buried for another 30 years?
Help law enforcement on how, if Diddy had anything to do with breaking that money up or giving that money up to him like that. Or did he use somebody else? Or did he do something for somebody else to be able to get that money for that? We don't know.
I was just about to say that too. Keefy D, he can use him for the upcoming trial.
Well, Kirk was meticulous in always keeping notes and files and things like that. But that money can't, just do a trace on $1 million check. Just do a trace on them. I want them to do it, because that would prove that I saw $1 million check. That would prove. Just do a trace on it. The man dead now. What you gonna do? Do it.
Now we switch gears to Biggie, and the story shifts from money to warnings and movement. Gene Deal is placed right at the scene the night Biggie was killed, but the timeline told here doesn't match the clean version most grew up hearing. Warnings start rolling in. A call comes from Wadsworth Hall, aka Unique. The backdrop? Federal prison in Colorado. Only 2 words get through. Vest up, then dead. 3-way calls supposedly get cut off. Follow-up calls confirm it. Yes, it was Unique from Mecca Audio. Another message comes through. They're coming for y'all. Security becomes the focus. Kirk Burroughs gets contacted. More protection is requested. But the crew? Just 4 guards for Diddy, Biggie, and the whole entourage. Nowhere near enough. Extra protection? Denied. Then a second warning arrives via Chaz Williams. Same message. They're coming at y'all. Beef reasons? Jake Wolf's death. A phone call Biggie allegedly made that led to a shooting in New York. Conflicts at Soul Train. Ongoing Tupac tension and street rumors about sets and affiliations. Danger? Treated as very real. Timeline moves to Andre Harrell's house, where Diddy was staying. A detail pops up. Diddy coming down the stairs in a white Beverly Hills hotel robe, joked about like it was stolen. Then the tone snaps. Warning delivered directly. Yo, Puff, people are gonna try to kill us. Reaction? Blunt dismissal. I don't want to hear that. Offer made? You don't have to go if you don't want to. Next scene, Clark Kent, DJ and VP at Motown, in Biggie's room the night before. A party isn't random. Peterson Museum allegedly set up by Drock and Puff for Biggie. Outside, high alert. Bloods everywhere. Weapons hidden. Orders given. Get in the car. Resistance pushes back. How you gonna tell me how to do my job? Threat follows. Get in or lose your job at Bad Boy. The drive? Command to Kenny. Run the next 3 lights. Get out fast. Tone shouts. Big's name ain't coming across the light. Gunfire erupts. Pop, pop, pop. Kenny guns the car forward. Doors open. Biggie's car? Everyone out except him. Another suburban chase ensues, but the shooter gets lost. Hospital decision? 2 blocks away, but they drive 30 minutes. Biggie bleeding. Time slipping. Reported final words? Just do it. The belief pushed? A closer hospital might have changed
Could
everything.
Puff have been involved in Tupac's murder or Biggie's murder?
I think that when you set up an atmosphere for something to happen, how involved are you? You set up the atmosphere. You put people in positions to get hurt. He knew that somebody was going to do something. He was told. I told him before we left. I told him. Mace told him. See, people ain't telling. See, everybody think that Gene Deal is the only one know this shit. I'm not the only one that's noticed and privy to this information. I'm the only one that's speaking on it and has spoke on it. Now, people are coming out gradually, but when Puff set up an atmosphere for somebody to get hurt and they get hurt, don't you take some responsibility for that?
Is that more tactics? He's not going to pull the trigger. He might not even pay someone to do so, but like releasing that song Who Shot You, that creates an atmosphere, creating certain things and planting seeds in somebody else's mind to be number one, where Tupac ends up getting killed, Biggie ends up being...
Now, it's not about pulling the trigger, it's about responsibility. The narrative says, if you set up an environment for harm, you share responsibility. Ignore warnings, refuse peace talks, put people in danger. That's the moral accusation. Not direct involvement, but creating conditions that escalate risk. Others were around, saw pieces, but one person is finally talking publicly. Zoom out. Post-Tupac, Biggie goes to LA despite multiple warnings. Music like Who Shot Ya drops, tension rises, peace meetings ignored, violence discussed in the background, chain reaction, escalation, refusal to de-escalate, and tragedy follows. So why leave this out of 50 Cent's documentary? 3 reasons pop up again and again. Legal risk. The Keefe D case around Tupac is still pending. Leaning into unverified accusations could trigger lawsuits fast. Credibility. 50 wants a serious cultural moment. Gandil, entertaining, but some call him a conspiracy guy. Cutting him keeps the doc cleaner, harder to attack legally. Diddy's lawyers already fired shots. Cease and desist to Netflix, claims of stolen footage, the documentary called a shameful hit piece. Money. Gan wanted to be paid what he felt his footage and story were worth. 50 is a businessman. If numbers don't make sense, cut happens. Extra drama? One story claims Diddy allegedly sent funeral arrangement flowers to 50 Cent at Club 11 in Miami. Quick reminder before we wrap, if you're rocking with Mike Tripp, subscribe, like, comment. This channel dives into what mainstream edits leave out. Bottom line? Specific details, confident delivery, consistency over years, easy to see why people believe it. But stay real, these are still allegations. Narrative, not verdict. Listen, but keep your head on. The big takeaway being pushed, 50 either couldn't or wouldn't include advanced awareness at Quad Studios, the $1 million check, warnings before Biggie's death, and the choices or refusals that allegedly fueled a dangerous atmosphere. Risky content? Too risky. Maybe legal, maybe credibility, maybe money. Whatever it was, it didn't make the edit. Now it's out for the public. So what do you think? Comment below. Do you believe this account? Diddy involved in Tupac and Biggie? What happens next with these allegations? I'll see you in the next one. Peace.